Happy Thursday, Facebook friends. Welcome back to Facebook. I'm Angie Garza, Director of Professional Learning and Educational Services at ROE 47, serving Lee, Ogle, and Whiteside counties. And if you're joining us back here on Facebook this fine Thursday, it's time for another Teacher Talk. Each week, we've been coming to you from our Facebook page, providing updates, insights, and really wonderful conversations with some of our own staff and educators across our three counties, as well as the state of Illinois, to continue on with these really inspiring conversations about teaching and learning and all of the wonderful resources that are available to us in our very own three-county community. And today, my friends, is no different. I am so pleased this morning to welcome to Teacher Talk Julie Kallenbach, who is going to be sharing with us a little bit of insight related to early childhood and our upcoming Early Childhood Learning Summit, which is Wednesday, November 16th from 8:30 to 11:30 at Sauk Valley Community College. But more about that in just a few minutes. So good morning, Julie. Thanks so much for joining us here this morning on our Teacher Talk. It's so good to see you again.
You too, and I feel very honored. And now I'm going to have to like your Facebook page, so I didn't even know this existed. So here we go. I'm going to learn a lot too.
Well, please do that. We love sharing all the great work and the good news that's happening in our three counties. And it is really good news that you are coming back to our annual Early Childhood Summit. You were with us last year to do some introductory conversations about what writing looks like in early childhood, and you're back again this year to kind of deepen that conversation. And so we're going to talk about that a bit here this morning and give everyone a little bit of a teaser trailer as far as what's coming up. But as we kind of launch into these conversations, I was hoping that maybe, as we want to welcome you to our Facebook community. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your journey in early childhood education?
So thank you. I began my career in early childhood in 1980. And I started as a preschool special education teacher because back then we did not teach children who were at risk or typically developing with state-funded monies. So eventually I did every single job throughout that department because we're the second largest district in the state. So there's a lot of opportunities there. So I was a diagnostician. I was the transition coordinator from early intervention into preschool. I was the transition coordinator from preschool into kindergarten. I became a principal at two of our different schools until I ended as director. So my heart has always been in early childhood. And in fact, at the very beginning, I was birth to third. In my first 6 months, I did birth to third. And back in those days, we actually put our little 18-month-olds on a bus to come to center-based preschool. But we learned that maybe it's a little bit better in the home or in a natural setting. So when I retired, I still really wanted to stay in the field. And so I do private consulting on anything developmentally appropriate, anything play-based. I was a consultant for ISB on the kids' developmental inventory for the kindergarten assessment. So that was a big part of my life. And now recently, I became a pyramid model coach too, because that's feeds into everything we know about early childhood right now. So that's kind of where I am with where my career has gone.
Julie, there's so much that you just shared that, number one makes me smile, but number two also makes me think about how far we've grown and come in kind of thinking about early childhood. I think for maybe many of our viewers, or if we think about even some of our own early learning experience or early learning experiences of some of our children, we think of a very specific age range. Maybe we think just like 3 and 4 year olds, and we think about them going to preschool and sitting in a desk all day. And, as you were sharing, you mentioned play-based, you mentioned birth to third, you mentioned things and kind of new ways of thinking and working with children, such as the pyramid model. So can you help us to conceptualize a little bit more about what early childhood really is and what it looks like as a whole? What are some of those best practices that you mentioned as far as educating our earliest learners?
Well, and that's something else. Another big part of my fake retirement, when I also became involved with the Birth to Third Continuity Project that was sponsored by ISB and um, built out of Illinois State University. But that is the biggest point, that birth to third grade is early childhood. It is not just those 3 and 4-year-olds in preschool. So many times we think early childhood is just preschool. Kindergarteners are much more like preschoolers than they are like first graders. And first and second graders also need best practice. We've discovered that if we don't have aligned practices, developmentally appropriate practice through third grade, many of our preschoolers lose the skills that they gained when they, had some high quality preschool experience. So that is how I always look at things, is that it's up to age 8. And that's a lot of the work I see around the state, is that kindergarten is becoming more developmentally appropriate. And there's a lot of demand for learning from preschool how we do this supporting children while they have choice play, and help use those teachable moments to intentionally build their skills. So that's my excitement. Early childhood's kind of in a critical part right now, with there's so much trauma with children. Then they experience social isolation and their family stressors during the pandemic. And I think everyone across the state has seen that the children coming into preschool are struggling with their executive function and their behavior and their language. So that's kind of why I got involved with pyramid model, because our goal in the earliest years is to build their social and emotional development so that they're accessible for learning. They can't sit in a desk in first grade and work on handwriting if they haven't had some experiences in authentic writing and authentic play and a lot of pretend play.
So what I hear you saying is that even, redefining that whole lens on early childhood, looking from birth to third grade, 0 to 8, and that play-based learning is critical, even now, even more so than ever, because of everything that our students have experienced as a result of the pandemic and those increased demands for socialization skills and, that academic learning piece.
Yes, it is. And when I was working in Elgin U46, we were fortunate to become involved with Elena Bedrova and Debbie Leong, which were disciples of Vygotsky, and they created the curriculum Tools of the Mind. And that's one of the approved curriculums that you can use in preschool. But because they were practicing a lot of their strategies, this is where I learned a lot about how to scaffold children's play into much more mature pretend play. And that's where we got the technique of scaffolded writing. So the fact that we were lucky enough to have these two theorists that have written an amazing curriculum was pretty exciting. And, one of the workshop I'm going to do for you is scaffolded writing. And it can be used in the earliest years when children first start to learn how to draw. And it's definitely appropriate for preschool and kindergarten. And then it's even an intervention in the first grade years, because if children don't know how to write, it's a great tool.
Can you just share with us a little bit of what scaffolded writing is and why it's important?
I will show you, and I don't know, hopefully my screen's going to mirror it. Let's see, it should be. So the purpose of scaffolded writing is really to recognize that writing there's two different parts. There's composing your thoughts and putting them in a two-dimensional space, and handwriting, and they are very separate things. So what I'm going to be talking about is whether or not to use lined paper. All that handwriting is one component of writing. It is not writing from the heart. So children begin by drawing pictures, because that's giving a message. They're telling somebody a message by their picture, and taking dictation when they can't write yet. But the technique of scaffolded writing builds in executive function. Children don't often have a strong working memory yet, so they may not be able to remember what they said that they wanted to write. So I'm going to give just a quickie look at what it is. So what I would say is we're going to do this. Oh, it is going to go backwards. Are you seeing it? It's not going to mirror it. Is it going to mirror it? I'll try it.
We'll try it.
Okay. So we will learn to write, period. So now let's read the lines. We will learn to write. They need these lines as something tangible to help them remember. So we will learn to write. Teacher will say it, the kids will say it. And then we go and write the message. And every day when we do a morning message, we have one topic we're teaching. So let's say today we're going to do, what is this letter? It's a W, right? This is a W. We, what was that next word? Will. Oh, there's two W's. Look at that. An uppercase and a lowercase. Learn to, oh, to is such a small word. Write. And there's a period at the end. Okay, let's read it again. We will learn to write. It's a simple way to teach working memory. We start with the same stem every day, so they start to remember some of those words. We teach one concept a day, so we might teach letters. We might teach letter sounds. We might teach word versus letter. We can talk about spaces between words. We can talk about letter, all of the different things you can teach with emergent literacy, but you can do it in a short message a day. So it starts with the teachers doing a morning message and modeling this, and eventually it moves to whenever they want to write in the writing center, if you're doing some shopping lists in the housekeeping area, and eventually even writing play plans as they learn to choose their center and what center are they going to play. So I'm excited. I feel like it was one of the techniques that we used in our preschool and kindergarten that really made a huge difference in the way they left for first grade writing. Back in the day when we didn't have full day kindergarten, we took the children who were most at risk and they got a full day. And we did this scaffolded writing, and those children left writing multiple sentences, where the standard for leaving kindergarten is being able to write one sentence. And so that's something I'll talk about too, is just sometimes we're expecting a little too much, but the end of the year standard in kindergarten is one sentence.
Julie, what I love, I was just kind of jotting down a few things that came to mind as you were sharing. First of all, I noticed that you were doing a lot of, it's really heavy on the modeling, and also that idea of think alouds or metacognition. We're starting maybe to build that with our young learners, their own thinking about their thinking and how they're kind of planning all of that out. So impressive. And those are skills and techniques that are so vital throughout a child's education. I also had a moment where one of the things that we've been working with our high school educators on is transitional English, and transitional English is all about the writing. So we are starting at a very, very early age with really intentional, planned opportunities for student writing that is going to build all the way up to high school, transition to some kind of college or career endeavor, and serve a child throughout their life. So what an important thing for teachers to really intentionally think about and plan for. That is incredible. And what I heard you say is it's part of that play, right? It's embedded within those play-based opportunities.
Yes, it is. And it's interesting, like even in the block area. So let's say they've built a structure. One time I just took a piece of paper and said, tell me what you drew. And I did a scaffolded writing, and they wrote, this is the hugest monster ever. So I showed them that. We folded the paper. Now they have a sign there, and they read it and they were excited. They all signed their names on it. It's just showing them that writing can be embedded in everything they do.
And indeed, it will be embedded for the rest of their lives. So what a great opportunity to do that on the onset as they begin their educational experience. So,
and learn to like it.
Yes. And I think that's important too. So many of our children now don't enjoy writing, or they don't look forward to writing.
Right.
Maybe they don't feel confident in their ability to write. So what great strategies, to build that confidence and those skills as well.
Yes. That's my goal. And we know in early childhood and it relates to everything about the Danielson framework too. It's those teachable moments when you are, just connecting with the child and working from their mind and following their lead, especially in writing. Those are the moments that make the most difference to children. It's about that relationship, and it's about taking them what they're thinking about and moving from there, not always what we're thinking about that they need to learn next.
Right. And those relationships are, again, more important than ever.
Absolutely.
As we're moving out of 2 years of craziness and back to some kind of sense of new normalcy, and reestablishing those relationships with our kids.
Yes, I agree.
Well, Julie, thank you so much for taking your time this morning to share with us a little bit about early childhood and our upcoming summit, which is going to feature you sharing some more incredible information and strategies related to scaffolded writing as a way to build confidence and skills and relationships and all of those wonderful things that we know our children need, and things that will serve them the rest of their lives. So we want to thank you not only for joining us, but also for joining us on November 16th for our Early Childhood Summit at Sauk Valley Community College.
And I look forward to it because the educators I met last year were very passionate and very engaged, and they talked back during a professional learning time. And so they were great learners and great partners with me.
We have some wonderful early childhood educators here in Lee, Ogle, and Whiteside counties. We are very proud of them, and I know that they greatly appreciate all of your information and just your presence at that event. So again, we are so looking forward to having you.
Well, thank you so much. I'll see you then.
All right, Facebook friends, that wraps us up for this edition of Teacher Talk. As we close out our morning here this morning, we want to once again say thank you to Julie Kallenbach for all of her time this morning and for her presence at our Early Childhood Summit. We hope to see you there at our Early Childhood Summit on Wednesday, November 16th from 8:30 to 11:30 a.m. at Sauk Valley Community College. Registration for this event is open on our website at www.roe47.org. Click the Professional Learning Workshops tab up at the top of the screen in order to get registered. As we wrap up here on this fine Thursday on Facebook, we want to wish you a very wonderful, relaxing rest of your Thursday, and even better Friday, a sunshine-filled fall weekend, and we will see you right back here next Thursday for another edition of Teacher Talk.